Good morning.
Good morning. A nice noontime, lunchtime, coffee break type concert here. We welcome into our Wayside Furniture and Blind & Sons Studio C. We have a whole audience full of Summit members, and we welcome back to Akron, Ohio, Tim Easton. How's it going, Tim?
Very good. Thanks for having me back. Appreciate it.
Yeah, well, and welcome to our new facility in Akron's Ellet neighborhood. We moved. You played the old building when we were in the old, the 100-year-old school building, the Ott Center, the Staff Development Center. But in 2019, we moved over here. Brand new setup, great state-of-the-art studios. We're recording for the Summit FM and for PBS Western Reserve, our video version. We do it as a TV program now. So welcome home. When was your last visit to Akron?
My last visit was not too long ago, actually. Both my mom and dad's funerals were here. I know that's a really dark note to start on, but that's the facts of my life. And my dad, he passed away at the age of 96. So it was an amazing life of fishing and hanging out with him. And that's the last time I was here, just not too long ago. And now I got a new record out, and just kind of singing about love and connection and family, and passing back through my hometown, Akron, Ohio.
Well, welcome today. Now, off the previous record, You Don't Really Know Me has been a big Summit song. We've just really adopted that one, the big hit, if you will. And so tell us a little about You Don't Really Know Me before we get into the new material.
Oh, yeah, the song You Don't Really Know Me, I was just trying to honor my family with that. It's one of those tunes where I travel around the world, and people think maybe they have me pinned down as a country blues folk troubadour or whatever, and I wanted to kind of expand a little bit and add a few chords to the basically the regimen, and I wrote a tune that I could sing either to a bunch of strangers or to a bunch of people that knew me, and maybe explain a little bit about my life. I was born actually in upstate New York. On the Niagara River, right on it. My mom was Canadian, and we moved down here. We moved to Japan for a while when I was a kid, so I lived in Japan for 3 years. And we moved from Cuyahoga Falls, Stowe, and then to Japan, and then back to Akron because my dad worked for Goodyear. Mm-hmm. So at one point, Goodyear transferred my whole family over to Japan for a while. Wow. Pretty cool.
Did they pick up the moving costs?
Oh yeah, my dad. He wasn't. He was in the corporate side of it.
Oh, gotcha. Very nice. So let's hear You Don't Really Know Me.
You got it. This is a song that is this title track for the album I put out about 2 years ago, You Don't Really Know Me. You don't really know me. You really know next to nothing about me. I take you by the hand, help you understand. You don't really know me. I was born by a raging river to a mother that did deliver 6 children to no harm. I was a 7 she held in her arms. Sisters taught me how to tie my shoes. My brothers taught me the deep river blues. One told me I could write a book. The other showed me how to bait a hook. You don't really know me. You really know next to nothing about me. I'll take you by surprise, help you realize you don't really know me. You don't really know me. Sometimes you learn from your mistakes. Other times you stubbornly nurse the pain. Either way, it takes more than one mistake to define a lifetime or trace a lifeline. You don't really know me. don't really know me. You really know next to nothing about me. I take you by surprise, help you realize it's not just all the miles in between all the goodbyes. It's what will never end and how I will defend the freedom that I need, the love that I believe, the feeling underneath, the lines that go between, to give you some idea of what I really feel. You could get to know me. You don't really know me. Now you may know. Akron, Ohio.
All right. Live acoustic here in Studio C on the Summit FM. It's Tim Easton, and that was a big song for us off the previous album, You Don't Really Know Me. Congrats, Tim, on Find Your Way, which was just released a week ago, just this past Friday.
Yes, I am a workaholic. I can't stop writing songs.
That's right. Well, you used that word troubadour. I think that's a great word for kind of what you do. Take us back to the early days in your music and songwriting career here in Akron, Ohio, and take us back to what's this, mid to late 90s? You're kind of getting started with all of this stuff?
Oh, I'd say it was a little bit before that, actually.
Even before that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Yeah.
Can I remember that far back? Yeah. I joined this thing called Amigos de las Americas, and it was a program, like a junior Peace Corps program, that had me going to the Dominican Republic and giving immunizations against diphtheria, pertussis, typhoid. It's this thing I did that kind of altered my life's path. Now, I met people in that program that turned me on to, I got to see Peter Tosh up at the front row in Cleveland with Jimmy Cliff opening up. So I had a really cool musical influences coming in. Then I had, as I refer in that song, to all my brothers and sisters. I say my brothers taught me the Deep River Blues. I was listening to what was on the radio at the time, your Prince, your Cyndi Lauper, some amazing stuff. Men at Work. And, and I was listening to that stuff, but also my brothers made sure that I was listening to, the heroes of my heroes. They got, they're the ones that had the Beatles and the Stones albums and this little band called the Grateful Dead. And those records there showed me, about the history of American music in so many ways. That's really where it kicked off. My brother said, you should check out Doc Watson, and so I started listening to Doc Watson early on so that I would learn how to Travis pick, a little bit of this. My brothers made sure that I basically learned the rudimentary things about the blues and Robert Johnson and stuff like that, which helped me kind of expand into my own songwriting.
Well, and then all of a sudden you find yourself busking in the streets in Paris and Madrid and Dublin. And how old were you at that point, and what was that experience like? What do you remember today about going to Europe?
I loved it so much. I basically was over here in Ohio. Then I went down to Ohio State, started studying a bit of poetry there. And poetry and football is what it's known for. And I went down there and in Columbus, and the punk rock scene started to become part of my life, and I started to see rock and roll bands and what rock and roll had become. But I wanted to be a songwriter in the kind of tradition of your Chris Christophersons or Joni Mitchell or Lucinda Williams, and I didn't have much to write about, so I decided to go over to Europe and become a street musician. And that's what I did. I went over to Europe. I lived in London for a while, for a year. I lived in Paris for a year. And I basically started playing on the streets, and then whatever Irish pubs would have me. It's always Irish pub. There's always an Irish pub in every town that'll let you jam. And I started writing my own. So I started living the life that led to some of these songs.
Yeah. Were they welcoming of, this American troubadour coming to town, and did they like the U.S. kind of folk tales and U.S. stories and things?
Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, that's our music. It's powerful, because I got to go all across Russia. You know, before the war and before the pandemic, I was invited by the Forum for Cultural Exchange to go across Russia. And that's another example where you get really far from home and you meet these people that just love Muddy Waters, or they love Bill Monroe, and they love bluegrass, and they play bluegrass, and they love the blues, and they play blues, and they love country, and they learn this stuff about, and it's American music, you know. Some of it that came from very intense suffering, and some of it that came from joy and love, and also just the story of our nation. So it's kind of powerful to go really far from home and meet some Russian guys that love Muddy Waters so much, or B.B. King or something. I mean, they play just like them. You wouldn't know that they weren't from Chicago or Memphis until they open their mouth and start singing. And that's when you figure it out.
The influence of music. I mean, the power globally. That's pretty amazing. Well, our guest for Studio C is Tim Easton. And, how about one of the new songs? And we'll talk a little bit about the new record. Where do you want to start here on the new LP?
Well, I made this record up in Canada. As I said, my mom was Canadian. And my friend Leroy Stagger, who runs a studio called Neighborhood Recorders up in Victoria, over in British Columbia on Vancouver Island. Beautiful place, and he built this studio there, and he wrote a grant to the Canadian government to invite me to come up there and make a record. So this one's on the Canadian government. Thank you very much, oh Canada. And I went up there and recorded a full album with a Canadian band, and the name of the album is Find Your Way. And I would just say this tune right here, I wrote it directly to a friend who was struggling and hurting and kind of, unnecessarily fading away. And, we all have those people in our lives and our families and our friends, and someone that's kind of a pain in the ass, but you don't want to tell them that. You want to kind of go at it with a more loving direction. And I wrote this song called Everything You're Afraid Of, just kind of like what I would say to my friend if I had the opportunity. You're gonna be alright. You're gonna be alright now. Just call a friend today and you'll be alright. If you are an engine falling out of the sky, kick on the air brakes, take a deep breath, stop asking why. You don't have to have a shame for the games you played. Let's take all that pain, rage, useless hatred away. Come on, remove yourself from everything you're afraid of. Alright. Ditch all the anger and unlock the chains. Ask yourself how you can help someone else who's in pain today. Take all those worries, put them in a big old book. Leave the book on a stranger's shelf. That's right, now congratulate yourself. Send a meaningful prayer of sympathy to all your enemies. Call a friend, ask them how they're getting on, and mean it. Come on, remove yourself from everything you're afraid of. Yeah, remove yourself from everything you're afraid of. Alright, then play guitar. Open up any window, open up any door. Let the light inside you like you never had before. Now get down on your knees, right down on those dirty knees. Do not fight, ask the light for the might to help you find some peace. Think of everyone you hurt, starting with yourself. Everyone you lied to, starting with yourself. Every broken heart, starting with yourself. Every family torn apart, starting with yourself. Every time you turned away from everything you're afraid of, turn and face everything you're afraid of. Turn and face everything you're afraid of.
Our guest on the Summit FM, Tim Easton, and we're talking about the new Find Your Way album. We've got a nice crowd of Summit members. These are the perks when you're a member of this public radio station. You get to come in and enjoy the live exclusive performances from Studio C. And Tim, I wanted to ask, since Find Your Way is brand new, it's now available in the world, this wonderful work of art is released. What's changed about that process compared to your earlier records and when you were, doing some of the earlier material a few decades back now? And is it still essentially the same? You still feel very pleased and proud when a new record comes out, or how's it evolving along?
Absolutely excited to put the record out. Of course, because I am, the consummate, like the workaholic character. I already got a couple albums in my head, the next albums, but
Yep.
that's what I do. It takes a while to get vinyl and everything printed, so you have that time in between finishing the record, and then you kind of immediately start into new ones, like my heroes, Bob Dylan would do, just kind of keep working and don't look back. But it is nice to have a belt of, just a collection of tunes under the belt, and there's a ton on Spotify. I have over 100 songs there. Whatever music robot you're living with at home, if you tell her to play, you could tell her to play, the Summit, of course, right?
Right. That
you can
works
do that.
too.
And
Yep.
By the way, I wanted to say, you Summit members, it's a special perk when you get to see a troubadour just get out of bed and just half a cup of coffee. And I don't know. I'm really happy that I get to sleep in so much, but
Yeah.
It was very lucky. So basically, the new record is just another step in the work I'm doing, and of course, it's really. I feel really lucky to be able to travel around and play these songs for folks. And thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it, and thanks for showing up today, you guys.
Yeah, happy to have you here. That's great. Well, I'm curious, too, when you have a new record coming out, do you find that there's a new influx of first-time fans and first-time listeners, or is it a lot of people that have followed you, since a few albums back? Is it always kind of growing and adding in that sense?
Hopefully it's growing.
Yeah.
I can't put my daughter through college on Spotify, but it's just basically, I'm really grateful to come and play really anywhere. And I'm, I guess, what you would call, an infamous, cult folk artist,
Sure,
basically. Sure. It's a specialty, group of people, and I really appreciate it. And it grows, and people write me a letter. I'm really easy to get a hold of. I don't know if you figured that out, guys, but you can find me on the internet pretty easily, through all the usual spots, the social media things. And then I love when people write me a note about a specific song.
Yep.
It's always going to move me, and I even have a P.O. box, a lonely P.O. box down there in Madison, Tennessee, P.O. 322, Madison, Tennessee, 37116. No one ever writes me there, but I would love. I've gotten a few handwritten letters, and it's really powerful. And I also now publish poetry and stuff. And I just want to say the foreword for my poetry book, the newest one, is it says, "Stash all your secrets and fears inside a book of poetry. That way, you're assured no one will ever see them." So, you want to see? I travel with those books.
That's amazing. Yeah. Where's the strangest place that a Tim Easton fan has come out of the woodwork? You know, whether it's electronic correspondence or something you received from mail from some faraway country.
Oh yeah, there's been some mail from some really faraway countries, and we're all just human beings trying to connect, with each other. So it happens in so many different ways, and it's never. It's always a beautiful feeling, when someone sends you a note from like Taiwan or far away. And I just got to tour Japan, and this year I'm going to be going back up to Alaska. So I've met some really fascinating people up there, and I'll be going back to Europe. I'll be playing in Spain and Holland later on this year, and so it's a never-ending evolution of the folk explosion.
Well, Tim Easton live in Studio C. And how about another one? How about another new one for us?
You got it. We're going to get into the country blues. This is a song called The Dishwasher's Blues. It's on the new record. And I just want to say, this is a fictional story. This is like a short film condensed into or maybe it's a full-length feature film condensed into a 3-minute song. I am not the character in this song, but however, I was a dishwasher at one point in my life because they wouldn't allow me to be a waiter or even a busboy. They wouldn't let me on the floor. They wanted me to be someplace where I didn't have to talk to people and I could write songs. And I write the occasional song. Don't love washing dishes or anything, but when you got to do it, you got to do it. Like the Buddhists say, when you're cleaning the glass, clean the glass. And so this is a character that gets into a bit of trouble and maybe starts out in the Midwest and heads out west eventually. This is the Dishwasher's Blues. Don't mind working for a living, but I won't live just to give it all away. I don't need you to forgive me. I'm walking down the road towards a broad highway. I threw the dirty apron down on the ground, hitched a gray dog for California. 2 weeks later, I was walking on the shore singing free at last. Don't say I didn't warn you just because you quote Jesus and a line or two from 5 Easy Pieces. Doesn't mean you have a right to tell me how to live my life. I met a waitress in a diving casino under a painting of a golden palomino, and it didn't take long for me to run until the wheels came off. Crossed the border in a Pontiac Fiero, got hitched by a witch in her vaquero. 3 months later, she was screaming from dusk till dawn. She said, just because you quote Jesus and a line or two from 5 Easy Pieces doesn't mean you have a right to tell me how to live my life. Yeah, we get down in the dark woods, hit K-Town for the dry goods. Never keep your wheels in between someone else's lines. Now we're burning through money that's theirsville, killing roaches in a flat over Squaresville, Lord, just to die in a Circle K parking lot. Just because you quote Jesus and a line or two from 5 Easy Pieces doesn't mean you have a right to tell me how to live my life. Yeah, just because you quote Jesus and a line or two from 5 Easy Pieces doesn't mean you have a right to tell me how to live my life. Doesn't mean you have a right to tell me how to live my life. I'm waking up now.
That's Tim Easton here in Studio C. We've got an audience of Summit members, and it's another Studio C live performance made possible by Wayside Furniture and Blind and Sons. And so since the album came out on Friday, Tim, you played Columbus, you had a Toledo date, you're back home in Akron now, and then I saw you're playing the legendary Arc in Ann Arbor tomorrow night. And Goshen, Indiana. So a real Midwest homecoming kind of tour for the album release.
Those are the places that'll have me.
Yes. Well, and you, I feel like that's where it all kind of started. How long ago did you actually move to Nashville, by the way?
It was about 10 years ago. I actually lived out in Joshua Tree for 7 years.
Okay.
And was married and became a dad out there. And then we moved from Joshua Tree over to Nashville, got a little closer to home, and now I just kind of I love the Nashville living, just mainly because the studios are amazing, and there's a lot of great, and all the people that take care of the studios and maintain the studios and all the work they do. The engineers are really good down there, and but I tell you, I drive around Ohio and I definitely get that feeling. Especially last night, a friend. Hey, Dana, took me out for a walk on the ledges, the ledges path over here. And Peninsula. And it just felt really good to be back home.
What else do you love about Akron? Like when you get back to town?
Besides Swenson's?
And Swenson's, absolutely. Yep. Are there any other must-dos, must-visits?
Yeah, no, you got to stop by the most famous proctologist in the world's house, Dr. Bob's house. That's definitely a visit for me.
Yep.
They say, welcome home.
Welcome home. And how do you feel, are you as an artist, are you still from Ohio? Like, do you encounter that Ohio assignment around the country and around the world? And do you feel kind of like a troubadour based in the Buckeye State originally?
Absolutely. When I was in Japan, I would just say Ohio to people all the time. It was great. It worked out perfect.
Totally works out. Tim Easton is our guest for another Studio C live acoustic session, solo acoustic. Do you plan to tour pretty much throughout the rest of the year now that this new record is here?
This year is a pretty commanding year on the road, and I appreciate all of you out there that support the troubadours and circus members in your life. I will be on the road quite a bit this year, and then next year, retirement. No, there's no. You don't get to retire from being a folk singer. You know, you just kind of get to start sitting down on stage like this, just relaxing into it a little bit. And I love it. I'm really happy to go sing these new songs and take requests from friends on the road and work on new tunes and super grateful for you guys here at the Summit, because I love radio myself. I'm a radio geek. I like wherever I go, I listen to the radio. I like to check out what local DJs are playing. And I know that's a rarity these days, but low on the dial often you can find it. And I just don't like to have an algorithm like pick out tunes for me. I like to have like a human being like play some stuff. And I still find new music on the radio. So this year will be a wild touring year if I could get back to the ADD question that you asked me there.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a wild year, yeah.
Hey, listen, I like the radio piece that you just gave us. We're going to turn that into a pledge drive promo. So how about that?
Thank you, everybody out there that supports this station. It is a huge, amazing thing to do for your community. It's like that's how a local scene gets going, basically. You support the local radio station that supports the local bands. And next thing you know, you got really cool things happening, like up in Highland Square. You got that Porch Jam Fest.
Yeah, the Porch Rocker.
And the Porch Rocker Fest. And, and it goes for film fests, and it goes for all kinds of things like that. And next thing you know, you got a poetry reading on Monday night. And people are expressing themselves and feel comfortable expressing themselves. And it all does begin with, really believing in your local radio station. So I appreciate you guys doing it.
Thank you. Terrific. That's a main part. our elevator pitch, we're always telling people the Summit is all about music and community, and it's all locally programmed, all music. I mean, that's what we do. We support a lot of local bands. We actually play local music, like during the day. We do a thing now called 330 at 3:30, and it's all local music 6 days a week at 3:30 p.m., like prime time. It's not buried late at night, you know, and there's a ton of music in our area. What advice do you have? Yeah. So you've heard. What advice do you have for like a young band starting out in the Akron, Youngstown, Canton area these days?
Well, you should get a job as a paper boy for the Akron Beacon Journal.
Yep.
And that way you can buy, or a paper girl, you can buy your first instrument that way. That's what I did. And as it turns out, on my paper route, I had Chrissy Hines' parents over on Stabler Road. And both of the Black Keys were, Dan and Patrick were young kids on my paper route.
Yes.
And it's just the way it worked for me. And a little bit of Devo activity. But my suggestion to all young musicians, or any age musicians really, is to study the heroes of your heroes. So, you know, and YouTube is really an amazing resource for like learning. If you want to learn something on an instrument, that the internet is amazing now. I didn't have that. I had a teacher over at St. Hilary's that, 50 kids with 50 acoustic guitars all playing Beth by Kiss, That's that's where it was for me. Then I learned Rocky Raccoon. Then I had my brother show me a few things. But it's basically study the heroes of your heroes. Because if you go back in time, if you love like John Lennon or something like that, or you love Pink Floyd, you're going to find out that band was named after two blues musicians. And you're going to find out that John loved Chuck Berry or the Everly Brothers. And then you're going to find the Louvin Brothers through the Everly Brothers. And you're going to just keep going back in time until you find some guy scratching on a cave wall.
That's right. Well, there's always more music to discover. I mean, there's more than ever new material coming out. But if you do the deep dive and start in the roots, like American roots and pre-rock and roll and all of that's where I spend all of my personal time listening. I haven't even heard your record yet because I was listening to Blind Boy Fuller this weekend.
Right, we all have our comforts. I too, at home, when I'm cleaning my house at home, I'm listening to Lightning Hopkins, Mance Lipscomb, pretty much for the last years. I mean, I know that's like small-minded, but that's what I do. I'll get a new record, I'll play it, and I listen to new music, but my comfort level at home is the country blues of Texans and Mississippians.
That's amazing. Well, and bringing it forward to new generations. That's great. Well, how about one more song for us today?
You got it. I'm going to play the title track for the new album. This is called Find Your Way. And this song came out of an experience that is a bit of a cautionary tale. I was recording music with this band called the Band of Heathens, an amazing band in Texas. And they had some Rice Krispie treats at the session that I guess Chris Robinson gave them. And I should have heeded that message. But I ate one of those Rice Krispie treats. This happened about 10 years ago. And I got behind the wheel of a car afterwards, and I don't recommend that to anybody. So a bit of a cautionary tale here. I'm really glad that nothing bad happened. But when I journaled about it, and then later during the pandemic, when I read my journal and I read that story, I was like, man, that was a really dangerous thing that you did there, and someone could have gotten hurt, and but no one did, and today's a better day. So this is the song that came out. It's called Find Your Way. Woke up at the corner, Trinity and 41, too high to even know where I was going. The light said switch once more, someone slammed the horn, and I slowly made my way on down the road to pull over, thank my lucky soul. Everybody else already knows, you never takes in between the breaks. Every dream starts with some shaking. I'm not one to ask when it comes to pass, every day is another chance to find your way. I went slow across the tracks just to catch my breath, still shaking from another wake-up call from certain death. Fate does not expect you to understand. A wreck inside a wreck can hardly make demands. So pull over, thank your lucky soul. Everybody else already knows. You never know how long it takes in between the breaks. Every dream starts with some shaking. I'm not one to ask when it comes to pass. Every day is another chance to find your way. Nobody ever wants to admit they're just like everybody else. Nobody ever wants to confess what they really wanted nearly killed them, and it may still do it yet. All these corners that I cut just added to my debt. All these things I have to do are not burdens just yet. You never know how long it takes in between the breaks. Every dream starts with some shaking. I'm not one to ask when it comes to pass. Every day is another chance to find your, another chance to find your, another chance to find your way. Thank you. Thank you.
The new record is Find Your Way. That's Tim Easton, another Akron 330 favorite around here, another Studio C live performance. And Tim, thanks so much for making your way back home and stopping in today for this special acoustic session.
Thanks so much, you guys. Thanks for painting my picture up on the wall, too. That's going to be great.
That's right. That's right. The Ohio Wall of Fame, the mural. And it'll be added immediately. Tim, no, we really, congratulations on
Two
a
more
great
albums.
new record. And yeah.
No, thanks so much for spinning the records, you guys. I appreciate the support.
Absolutely. Mr. Tim Easton on the Summit FM, Studio C.